da, and then to the nishadam, ni, da, ya, ra, le, ga, ni, and then to the male Sanjamam, so you have the entire range of Todi being covered in these different compositions by one composer. Just one composer. So imagine the number of composers who have composed so many compositions in Todi, and if you were to learn so many compositions in Todi, your knowledge and awareness and acquaintance with the different beauties of the Raga Todi becomes much easier. You get to know all these things, which you can immediately apply in the Raga Alapana. Secondly, another aspect of Raga Alapana singing which is relevant to students and musicians is the need to listen to different phrases or different styles of singing. It's always a very thin line that divides between the content and the style, where it distinguishes. For instance, a Sangati may be part of a style, or the same Sangati may be rendered by different people in different styles to suit their own individual temperaments and voices, but the Sangati is the same. For instance, you start with the same Todi, na, 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 na. A very characteristic Todi phrase could be rendered by different people in different ways, different musicians. Na, 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 na. This is one style. Na, 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 na. This is another way. Na, 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 na. This is another way. La, na. The same phrase can be rendered in 7 or 8 different ways. And this we are able to understand only by listening to 7 or 8 different musicians. Only then you know that these different kinds of handling of the phrase gives you an idea. You know, okay, when you sing Todi, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, da, pa, ga, ma, this becomes a very, very characteristic and important phrase of Todi. Secondly, of course, after a particular stage, when one gets acquainted, one knows the raga much better, and one starts applying one's own imagination and developing the raga, that is when it becomes a bit more tricky. For a simpler, straighter raga, it's easier because the scale today is probably the most important determining factor in developing a raga. It wasn't so maybe many years back, but today it is a very, very important determining factor in the sense that what are the notes in the scale, especially after the advent and introduction of Arohana-Avrohana concept, which is becoming more predominant today. For instance, if you were to go and approach a raga like Atana, you can't approach it from the Arohana-Avrohana stage. You can approach it only from the characteristic phrases. That is enough to say that this is Atana. Whereas you may not get a characteristic phrase when you sing Nataka Priya. Whereas this is a limited range. Of course, we can fix on a characteristic phrase and say, but I still have to be careful that I am covering all the notes in the Nataka Priya scale to ensure that the raga comes out completely. Whereas, this is Shankarabharana. I don't have to touch the ba, I don't have to touch the ba. Whereas if I were to sing, I cannot say it is Saraswati. Though they are the same notes, only the Devata is different. Everybody will say it's Shankarabharana. Then okay, I have given some color which indicates that it is not Shankarabharana. Maybe it is not still clearly Saraswati. But somebody say, okay, there is some note that is different from Shankarabharana, so it is not Shankarabharana. So you can't fix. So because of this, what happens is certain ragas which are Prachina ragas or which are much older ragas are clearly identifiable by very, very characteristic phrases. And these phrases are innumerable and they are available in all these great treasures called these kritis of these great composers, which have been handed down to us from the earlier generation. So if we were to recognize these phrases and use them to build a raga, then it's easier to get the scope to do it. And also all ragas cannot be developed extensively. For instance, the scope that Todi or Kalyani or Shankarabharanam offers, an Atana may not offer, an Ahiri may not offer. Because the raga itself is only a collection of phrases. Nayaki is only a collection of phrases. Atana is only a collection of phrases. Whereas Todi is a more complete picture with which you can play around, go around here and there and expand it to its fullest potential. Whereas the Atana, we are still governed by the compositions and these characteristic small phrases which are available to us and handed down to us. Pada Pada Ragam. There is a statement very popularly said. Pada Pada Ragam. That is, as you keep singing the raga, you get more and more insight into it. It's very simple. It's very a similar analogy can be drawn to writing an essay. You learn the alphabet, and then you learn words, and then you learn sentences, and then you're able to write sentences, maybe not in grammar, and then you learn the grammar, and then you start writing an entire paragraph, and then an essay, and then a novel, and all these have to make perfect sense with a logic which is followed through. Similarly, in a raga, you start with the scale or you start with the characteristic phrases, and then you have to build a raga, and the overall whole has to make sense. Now, in those days, there was a popular notion or there was a popular belief among a lot of rasikas that some musicians, when they sang the raga, you could immediately say what kriti they were going to sing. How is this possible? Or is it possible? Or today, if somebody were to sing a raga, is it possible that somebody could just, by listening to the raga, say this is the kriti that he is going to sing? Maybe, maybe not. I leave it open. And maybe what happens here is, sometimes when a member of the audience comes and sits and listens to an elaborate Todi and says, it's only a feeling. Because you listen to the raga and you think, okay, maybe Kadanu Variki would suit the occasion. And if he sings Kadanu Variki, that's it. Nanache sir. Paruga. And then tomorrow after 20 years they will say, sir, in those days when he sang the Todi raga, it would immediately know that it's going to be Kadanu Variki. It may have started this way. You never know how. See, the problem is, these things are not recorded really for us to find out how things happen. But sometimes it is possible for a lot of musicians to portray certain characteristic sangadis in that kriti, which you may not find in other kritis. And it is possible on such circumstances for a rasika to say that yes, he is going to sing Kadanu Variki. This is the beginning of Kadanu Variki. Suppose I begin the raga like this. Touch a bit on Nidura Nirakarichi. Nidurani. Build about there. Show that Nidura Garichi 4 or 5 times. Then go on to Mel Shadjam and sing. So sometimes you may be able to show shades of some composition, keeping only one composition in mind, not 3 or 4, and try and develop a raga, and it is possible to be able to convey the fact that you are going to sing a particular kriti. Some musicians have always differentiated the way they sing raga alapana for different kritis. For instance, if one were to sing a Todi Ragam for Raju,